My name is Maxine Reynaldo. So I'm the eldest among our siblings. In fact, I'm also the oldest grandchild. I'm the oldest cousin and the oldest niece. So mom's side and dad's side, you name it, I'm the oldest. So, because of this, I'm always the first to experience everything. So, I don't really have anyone to ask advice from. I'm always the one giving advice. I'm always the first to make mistakes, and I'm also the first to fix those mistakes. So to start, I've always practiced mediocre faith. Mediocre because when it came down to it, I knew how to pray, and I knew I had to be nice. So back then, I believed being nice simply meant that I don't hurt anyone, that I'm not outwardly rude, and I don't have vices. So I thought that was what only it took to have faith. I used to think as long as I wasn't doing anything evil, it would be enough. So for the longest time, I was just nice. I never woke up in the morning with the explicit intention of hurting anyone, yet my habits often lead me to be disrespectful. I am stubborn. They're smiling. And I am inconsiderate, I think, to my sisters. They could vouch for that. And every now and then, I am a liar. I wasn't overtly rude or crass, but I was judgmental and I secretly enjoyed discriminating others. I was a mean girl, and over time, I found myself liking the sound of that. While I never smoked, I never vaped or used drugs, I was consumed with thoughts that fed an insecure mind, a callous heart, a dirty mouth, and a sinful soul. It was like wearing a veil, and people thought of me differently than who I really was on the inside. So, in reality, that veil, sorry, covered what was rotting on the inside. I didn't know I would cry. Sorry for this. Um, yeah, so that was the cover that was being put to test. So 2020 was for the books. As you've heard from my parents, the pandemic happened. Being isolated during the pandemic affected me in ways I didn't expect. My then 4-year-old sister, Mavis, I don't know if she's here. She was she was diagnosed with leukemia. So I was scared. I was angry. At whom exactly, I didn't know. So I naturally took on the role of a second mom. And at first, I did everything that was asked of me. So anything, um, like it came down to always staying at home because when you have a sister with leukemia, you can't really risk anything because there's COVID outside. So, yeah, I did everything that was asked of me, even if it meant giving up certain privileges or simple things that I enjoyed. So, as months turned to years, I began to feel like a villain. I began to feel like a villain if I asked for anything that would make me happy. So during that time, even hoping to see a friend felt so selfish because it could put my sister at risk. So for those 3 years, I felt like I was nothing more than just a second mom. I've accepted that Ate Max was all I'll ever be. So while it was certainly right to look out for my sister, very valid, I felt like my own well being was being disregarded. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I was depressed. I found myself feeling desolate and destructive, both to myself and to others. I knew the things that could make me feel better, but I often did the opposite. I dwelled on negative thoughts and sought out feelings of hopelessness. Parang I romanticized the sadness that I was feeling. So whenever I was upset, I would make sure others knew it. So pag galit ako, I want to show my mom that I'm mad. I want to show my dad that I'm mad. So all the emotions I didn't know how to process back then, I would project it to my family with the goal of making them feel guilty. So I spent hours locked in my room and I dreaded waking up in the same corners of our home. I found myself slowly hating the Jesus I perceived in my mind. So, because of that, I stopped praying because I thought, why would a loving God allow a 4-year-old to battle cancer? So, how could a loving God stand by as anxiety cripples my family every single day? And why, under the watch of this God, is my mental health deteriorating so badly? I often question God's goodness. Now, looking back, I realize I still held on to the idea of Him, knowing in my heart there is a God. But with all the anger and anxiety during this time, I didn't believe in His existence. So I rejected who He is because of what I thought He put us through. This prolonged emotional and spiritual disconnection from my parents and my faith had led me feeling as if I'm living without love. So I didn't have that belt that Pastor Don was talking about kanina. So it was around June 2023 when our parents brought our whole family to Sunday gatherings at Crossroads Redeemed. I went along with it at first. I'm sorry, Pastor Don, but I wasn't really listening. I didn't digest what was being discussed. I heard the messages, it went through here and then went out the other. But yeah, I was just there to support what my parents wanted. So it wasn't until after a month that things began to change. One night, I went out to see some friends, and then that same night, I lied to my parents, and then I got into a car accident. I was driving alone. It could have been worse, and I could have really hurt myself. I could have died, but I believe that Jesus saved me that night. So that incident was pivotal for me, and from then on, I made the decision to hold on to Him. So for the first time in years, during that time, I prayed not out of obligation but out of gratitude. I thank God for preserving me and for saving me. So that moment thereafter forced me to confront everything I had ignored, everything I had dismissed or outright denied. I realized how reckless I've become, not to mention detached, not just from God but also from my parents. I praise God for this second chance to have another opportunity to really know Him, really, this time. So I revisited my understanding of God. I reflected on His goodness. Despite deserving the consequences of my actions, I found salvation in His mercy. So Psalm 63 resonated deeply with me because it is about our souls thirsting for God. I realized the impurity of my heart and I felt a strong call to seek God earnestly, desiring Him above all else. When I heard about the gospel message again this time, I understood what it really meant to have Jesus as my Redeemer and Master. I understood that it is not through my understanding of being nice or simply knowing how to pray that I could be saved from my sins, but also through putting my faith in Jesus. So, the Holy Spirit is now continuously changing me, refining my heart to be more pure, one that isn't insecure, callous, dirty, or sinful. So, Jesus met me in my brokenness as He has all done for us, and I have been surrendering to His guidance ever since. I no longer have to hide behind a veil because Jesus has made me new. With His strength, I find myself resisting temptations and embracing His love more. I mean, at the bottom of my heart, but I eagerly anticipate becoming less sinful as I grow closer to Him. So, though far from perfect, I celebrate this new direction in my life. I've committed this path through baptism witnessed by my community. I just want to say that this community is very warm. It's like the best. And I don't even feel weird right now. I just feel loved, honestly. So, yeah. Please keep me in your prayers, hoping my life glorifies God as I continue my journey with Him.